Good evening, everyone. Today, listen and read practice level 2. Day even. Let's start.
But just think of the things that you could do.
It would be very dangerous, but asserting of the thing that you could do.
You could live in a dollhouse or even a shoebox.
You could live in the dollhouse or a shoebox.
You could use a bottle cap for a
You could use a bottle cap for a lid.
plate. You would have to wear doll's clothes.
You would have to wear those clothes.
A stamp would make a lovely picture to hang on your wall.
A stamp would make a lonely picture to hang on your wall.
You could hide in a mouse hole or a drawer. You wouldn't need much food.
You would need much food.
You could probably live comfortably on the crumbs that people would leave on the table.
You could probably live comfortable on the counter. That people would live on the table.
A thimble would make a good cup.
A timber would make a good cup.
If you went outside, the grass would seem like a jungle.
If you went outside, grass would seem like a jungle.
An insect would be huge and frightening. A puddle would seem to be an ocean.
A bookstore would seem to be an ocean.
You could cross the puddle in a paper cup and use a spoon for it.
You could cross purple in the paper cup and use a spoon for an ounce.
Or a matchbox would make a good bed with a handkerchief as a bedspread.
A matchbox would make a wood bed with a handkerchief as a print.
You'd brush your hair with a toothbrush, but you'd never find anything small enough to brush your
But you never find anything small enough to brush your teeth with.
teeth with. You could take a ride on the back of a mouse.
You could take rice on the back of a mouse.
You wouldn't find any books that were small enough to read, but you might read the back of a pill bottle. You could ride in a toy car and have a soup bowl for a swimming pool.
You could drive a sport car and have a swimming pool.
A leaf could be your umbrella, and a mitten would make a great sleeping.
Leaf could be umbrella and I have it would make this shipping bar.
bag. If you used your imagination, you could think up something to use for almost all your purposes.
If you use your medicine, your coating of something do you almost all your purpose.
Being small might be fun, but then again it would be frightening.
Being small wouldn't be fun, but then again it would be frightening.
I'd be afraid of my pet cat.
It's a friend of my cat.
I wouldn't want a book to fall on me.
I would want a book for Oddby.
I would be afraid of being swept away by a big gust of wind.
I would be afraid being swept away because of wind.
I think I'd rather be my size.
I think rather by my side.
If I were a giant.
If I were a giant.
If I were a giant, I wouldn't be able to fit in my house.
If I were a giant, I would be able to fit in my house.
I'd have to live in a building that had a high ceiling.
I have to live building that had a high ceiling.
But I'd probably have a hard time getting through the door.
But I probably have had time getting through the door.
I'd have to make my own clothes, but where would I get a giant needle and thread to sew with?
I have made my own clothes, but where would I get needle and to sew with?
I couldn't ride in a car or a plane.
I could ride a car or plane.
I suppose I would just have to take giant steps to get from place to place.
I suppose I would just have to take giant steps from place to place.
I would have to be very careful not to step on anybody.
I would have to be very careful not to touch on anybody, anything.
or anything. When I talked, people would cover their ears.
When I talk, people would of course their ears.
My voice would sound very loud to them.
My voice would sound very loud to them.
I wouldn't find shoes to cover my feet.
I would find a shoe to cover my feet.
I wouldn't find a knife and fork to eat my dinner with.
I would find a knife, a fork, eat my dinner with.
I might have to use a rake as a fork.
I might have to use a fork.
My dinner would be huge. What would I cook
What would I cook my dinner in?
my dinner in? I certainly wouldn't find an oven big enough to put my
Instantly, I would find oven big enough to put
dinner in. If I sneezed, it would be like a hurricane.
If I sneezed, it would be like in hurricane.
If I fell down, it would be like an earthquake.
If I fell down, it would be like earthquake.
I wouldn't have any friends because everyone would be too tiny for.
I would have a friend because everyone would too tiny for
me to talk to. I think that being a giant would be very
I think that being young would be very lonely.
lonely. I couldn't have just one apple.
I could have just one apple.
I would have to have a lot of apples to fill me up.
I would have lots of apple fill me up.
I would have to drink gallons and gallons of water to quench my
I would have to drink a lot of water to quench my thirst.
thirst. I could never relax under a tree. I would be taller than all the trees.
I could never lay under the tree. I would be taller than all the tree.
I don't think that being a giant would be fun.
I don't think that being young would be fun.
I won't ever make a wish to be a giant. I would rather be
I would rather by my height.
I'm very happy the way I am.
I am very happy the way I am.
Video designed by English7levels.com.
Do people have the right to smoke in public?
Do people have the right to smoke in public?
My father used to smoke.
My father used to smoke.
He got very ill.
You're not very ill.
The doctor told him that he had to quit smoking.
The doctor told him that he had to quit smoking.
My father tried for a long time to quit.
My father tried for a long time to quit.
It was very difficult for him.
It was very difficult for him.
Smoking is an addiction.
Smoking and addiction.
After many months, my father finally gave up smoking, but he still craved a cigarette once in a while.
After many months, my father finally gave up smoking, but he still craved a cigarette once in a while.
He says that quitting smoking is the hardest thing that he has ever done.
He says that quitting smoke is the hardest thing that he has ever done.
When my father did smoke, he smoked everywhere.
When my father did smoke, he smoked everywhere.
He smoked in restaurants, stores, and many public buildings.
He smoked in restaurants, stores, and many public buildings.
Now, you are not allowed to smoke in a lot of public places.
Now, you are not allowed to smoke in a lot of public buildings.
When my father smoked, the rules were not so strict.
When my father smoked, the rules were not so strict.
People could smoke just about anywhere.
People could smoke just about anywhere.
It really wasn't fair to the people who didn't smoke.
It really wasn't fair to the people who did smoke.
Their clothes always smelled like smoke, and they breathed in second-hand smoke.
The closed doorway smelled like smoke, and they breathed in the second-hand smoke.
Some people think that the secondhand smoke is actually worse for you than if you smoke yourself.
Some people think that second-hand smoke is actually worse for you than if you smoke yourself.
People would smoke in their houses, and very young children would inhale the smoke that was in the air.
People would smoke in their house, and very young children would smoke that was in the air.
Some people still smoke in their houses, and their children breathe in the smoke.
Some people still smoke in the house, and their children breathe in the smoke.
Some restaurants have areas for smokers, and
Some people restaurants have their floor smoke and non-smoker.
non-smokers, but usually the smoke drifts from one area
But with the smoke differ from one area to
to the other. There are some businesses that have banned smoking altogether.
There are some businesses that have banned smoking together.
Personally, I think that smoking in public places should be completely
Lastly, I think smoke in public places should be completely banned.
banned. I don't think that I should have to breathe in another person's smoke if I choose not to smoke my.
I don't think that I should have a better or no best than smoke if I chose not to smoke
myself. It wouldn't be fair for a non-smoker to get lung cancer.
It wouldn't be fair for some non-smoker to get lung cancer
Because they had to be in a place where smokers were allowed
because they had to be in places where smokers were allowed to light.
to light up. I know that smoking is a powerful addiction and that it is very difficult to
I know that smoking is beautiful action and that it is very difficult to
quit.
quit.
But smokers should restrict their smoking to places where there is nobody else around.
But smokers should restrict their smoking to places where there are nobody else around.
Lung cancer is an awful disease.
Lung cancer, and awful disease.
Nobody should have to suffer with lung cancer.
Nobody should have to suffer with lung cancer.
People should be educated about the dangers of smoking.
People should be educated about the danger of smoking.
Smoking should be banned in public places,
Smoking should be banned in public places.
but eventually I would like to believe that fewer people
I would like to believe that fewer people will smoke.
will smoke. It would be nice to live in a smoke-free environment.
It would be nice to live in a smoke-free environment.
My favorite bedtime story.
My favorite bedtime story.
Every night when I was little, my mother would read me a bedtime story.
Every night when I was little, my mother would read me a bedtime story.
My favorite story was Tom's Midnight Garden.
My favorite story was Tom's Midnight Garden.
This was a story by Philippa Pierce.
This was a story by Philippa Pierce.
It was quite a long book, and it took quite a few nights for my mother to read the entire book to me.
It was quite a long book, and it took quite a few nights for my mother to read the entire book to me.
In Tom's Midnight Garden, Tom moves to the city to stay with his aunt and uncle.
It's Tom's Midnight Garden to move to the city to stay with his uncle and uncle.
He is very bored at their apartment.
He is very bored at their apartment.
They have no children, so Tom has nothing to do.
They have no children, so Tom has nothing to do.
One night, the clock strikes 13 times.
One night, the clock ticked 30
Times.
times.
Tom knows that this is impossible.
Tom knows that this is possible.
A clock can only strike up to 12 times.
The clock can only tick up to 12 times.
He sneaks downstairs and goes outside.
He sneaks downstairs and goes outside.
When he goes outside, there is a wonderful garden that wasn't there the day before.
When I get outside, a wonderful garden that was here a day before.
The next day, Tom goes outside and finds there is no garden.
The next day, Tom goes outside and find that there is no garden.
The garden only seems to appear at night.
The garden only seems to appear at night.
Every night, Tom slips out to this wonderful garden and meets some people in the garden.
At night, Tom goes out this wonderful garden and meets some people in the garden.
He meets a girl named Hattie.
He meets a girl named Hattie.
Hattie and Tom become very good friends in this garden.
Hattie and Tom become very garden.
Some very strange things happen in this
Some very strange things happen in the book.
book. There are some coincidences that keep you guessing about what is really going on.
There are some that keep you guessing about really going on.
The surprise ending is wonderful.
The right ending, wonderful.
I really enjoyed Tom's Midnight Garden, and I was very sad when my mother and I came to the end of the book.
I really enjoyed Tom Midnight Garden, and I was very sad when I murdered, and I came to the end of the book.
I felt that I had visited the magical garden with Tom.
At first, just I had visited the magical garden with Tom.
It is a book that I will remember all my life.
It's a book that I will remember all my life.
If I found a magic lamp.
If I found a magic lamp.
If I was walking down the beach one day and I happened to bump my toe on a magic lamp.
If I was walking down the beach one day and I happened to bump my toe on the magic lamp,
I would pick it up and rub it.
I will pick it up and rub it.
If it was a real magic lamp.
If it were real magic lamp,
But I don't believe that there really is a magic
but I don't believe that there really a magic lamp.
lamp. A genie would pop out in a cloud of smoke and he would call me master.
And was pop out in the cloud of the smoke, and he would call me master.
He would say that he would grant me 3 wishes.
He would say that he would grant me this wishes.
I would have to think very hard about those wishes because I wouldn't want to waste them.
I would have to think very hard about the wish because I wasn't want to waste them.
I don't think I'd want millions of dollars.
I don't think I'd want millions of dollars.
Money doesn't buy happiness, or so they say.
Money does buy happiness, or so they say.
I might wish for good health, because if your health isn't good, you won't be able to enjoy anything.
I might wish for good yet, because if your yet isn't good, you won't enjoy anything.
Some people might wish for beauty, but beauty is only skin deep.
Some people meet with for beauty, but beauty in only skin deep.
Some people would wish for a mansion or a beautiful car or a big boat.
Some people wish for medicine or beautiful car, big boat.
I don't want any of those things.
I don't want any true thing.
Some people would want fame.
Some people would want fame. Thank you for watching.